Working with salespeople and sales managers, man, is there always some treats. But one of the things that happened was last week I had some sales managers that I'm starting to put through the sales process, and today I had them bring their decks, what their reps use, and they also brought some salespeople, and I think that was for a little bit of a security blanket. One of the things I learned in this, and I've known for years and years and years, salespeople really love themselves. And what we're going to look at today is why that's risky. All righty. As you can see on the board behind me here, how to sell solutions, not just problems. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is simply this. So I take a look at these decks, and if you don't know what a deck is, it's a PowerPoint where you get up and you get to brag on everything, and you tell the history of your company, and you tell some story, or you try to, make yourself look good because that's the value that you bring. And here's what I want you to realize. If you didn't provide any value, if that customer didn't already know that you bring something to the table, you wouldn't be in that meeting to begin with. They have a right to say no. So they already have given you some level of credibility for you to come. Now what we want to do is, instead of saying, hey, I'm good at what I do, and demonstrating that you're good at what you do, you have this big old long presentation, got some beautiful logos, and you tell the history, and you give all these different companies you work with, and that's really nice. But in the end, that customer wants to know, what in the world are you going to do for me? And that brings us to the relationship between a salesperson and the client. And I put it in, as you can see here on the board, between a doctor and a salesperson. What's the difference? Nothing. One of them gives you a cure if you've got symptoms. In other words, you come in and you meet with them. They ask you a few questions. They prescribe something, or they do something, or they're getting you well. Or you may just be doing an annual physical where you come in and you say, hey, doc, I want you to check me out, make sure everything's okay so that I'm good to go. Now, so many salespeople today, they want to sell on problems. So the first thing they come in, and if you watch some of these people, they teach you the magic word, what keeps you up at night. It's a stupid question, and here's why. The customer's prepared for it. They know you're only going to sell to a problem, and if there's no problem that they haven't already clearly identified, then poof, you're off to the next person. And let me give you a good for instance. This is what we call cherry picking. I happen to, through the years, I've had call centers, I've had outside salespeople, I've had so many different things that I work with. But if your marketing's extremely good, and if you've watched Grant Cardone, he keeps saying, hey, fill your funnel, fill your funnel, fill your funnel. And on one side, he's absolutely right. If you fill that funnel, you're gonna catch plenty of customers. You may not be as profitable as you want to be because you're burning your marketing. But if you've got that type of flow, great, that's wonderful. But in reality, ladies and gentlemen, you need to sell that customer. You need to slow it down. Don't cherry pick, because you're going to miss a lot of opportunity. So let's go back to the doctor and the salesperson. When you go to the doctor, does he come out and show you his diploma? Does he tell you how long he's been in practice? Does he give you all that? No. They demonstrate their competence by asking you the right questions, doing some checking, and they always, they have the nurse come in and check your blood pressure. It's a system that they have. So you come in, and if you feel comfortable with that doctor, you don't ask him all those questions. He gained your confidence by being competent at what he did. So same thing as a salesperson. I could come in and go, hey, I'm a great sales trainer, but what I would prefer you doing, I would prefer me going out in the field with you, see what really happens, and see where you're making mistakes. Just like every deck that I have gotten this year is nothing but a whole bunch of throw up about your company, and then you get a little blurb, and then ultimately you get to the customer, and that's the client. And let me explain something to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the money. They are the ones that need to feel comfortable. They need to think that you're competent at what you do, and they need to be confident that you're going to help them reach their goals. But I want you to look at something. So if a doctor goes to 8 years, he's in med school, he gets a lot of information. I mean, he knows a ton. Let me do my formation, all right? He knows a ton. So when you're looking at this, all right, I've got this doctor, he's got a lot of information, and he's going to educate me on everything. Educate. There we go. He's going to educate me. Now let me ask you something. If you went to a doctor and he started vomiting all this information on you and using all these technical terms and talking you in a way that just made you feel stupid, would you stay with that doctor? The odds are probably no, because you don't feel comfortable. Well, that's what we do as salespeople. Instead of asking the questions and getting that customer comfortable by talking, getting the customer talking to you and feeling comfortable that you're going to be able to help them, this is your role. Who should be educating who? This should be doing the educating. Whoops, let me get rid of my E there. And let me explain to you what I'm talking about. I don't expect a customer to tell you everything, but I do expect them to answer the right questions. So when you're going through this, it's fine if you want to build rapport by talking about some fish or whatever. I think it's kind of stupid. But to me, get focused on that customer. They don't have a whole lot of time. They've taken time out of their day, and show them the respect of asking the right questions. And that's where you're getting yourself educated. You're going to spend the time with that customer asking the questions. They give you all of the information, and then you take these years of knowledge that you have here and you give them the right answer. This is why so many times when especially the technical world, they want to go in and they want to teach all this, impress them on the technology. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no problem with that when you're at the point of implementing the process or implementing the sell itself. When you come down into the presentation, what you want to be able to tell them is what our solution will do for you. It doesn't have to just solve a problem. It may look into the future and see what problems are coming, because believe me, there's a lot of companies out there that know what's coming in the future, and they know if you're prepared for it. You may not know you have a problem, and I'll give you a perfect example of me and a doctor. I went to a dermatologist one time, thought maybe I might have cancer. Believe it or not, I had a knot in my leg, scared me half to death, and he laughed at me because he goes, no, believe me, women would pay a fortune for what's in there. He goes, if you want me to take it out, I will. I said, absolutely, I want it out. Well, while talking to him, he said, there's a spot here on your face I want to take a look at, and you can't tell it, but right through here, I had skin cancer. Did I know I had that problem? No. Did I go in there for that problem? No. I was just scared about that knot, and I don't have a general practitioner, and I needed something else done, so I went in and I asked him about it. The key, though, is what he did, taking the knowledge that he had and the experience that he had, he identified an area that I may want to address pretty quickly. Maybe, maybe not. Was it cancerous? Yeah, it was. Was it malignant? No, it wasn't. But he went in and did the work. What I want you to realize as a salesperson, they pay for what you know. They pay for you to know how to recommend things for them. So many times as salespeople, we forget we are the value. We bring these ideas. There's nothing worse, and I use the example forever. TiVo made one of the best DVRs ever, and that company never made a dime. The best technology, but the customer had no relation to how to use it. So guess what? They didn't buy it. What your job is to do is to translate the information from where that customer is to where you want them to go and how you're going to help them get there. So it becomes a natural close when you're working with the customer. You're doing your fact finding, and then you simply roll it out. And here's what I get the feedback most of the time, or for people that go through my sales process. It seems to be pretty quick. And the reason is I don't waste a lot of time. I want to ask the right questions. I want to respect this person. I'm going to have a relationship with them at some point. But when I'm working with them, I want them to understand that they are my focus, not what I've done in my past. I bring that experience, and believe me, I'm going to pull it out. But let's say I'm not exactly sure what the best solution is. Well, I've got people back in my office that can help me. I've got people that I can go and tap those resources. So the better I ask the questions of the customer, the more information I get to provide a service that I provide. So my point to this Sales Talk Tuesday is this. Ladies and gentlemen, go through your deck. And if you see a whole bunch of garbage of where you're puking on your company, oh, we're 125 years old, we've been doing this forever, some of our biggest clients, I know you think it's important, but that customer could care less. They want to know, what are you going to do for them? And let me just give you a few for instances. There's a little company called Google. Wasn't around 20 years ago. Blew by tons of advertising companies. Then along came Facebook. Same thing. Wasn't here. Some guy discovered it in college, and yeah, there's another story. But they turned the advertising world upside down. So when you're sitting here and you can brag that you're 100 years old or you're whatever, it means nothing. Nothing. There's Thomas Cook, if you look it up. Thomas Cook was a travel company, been in business for 100 years, left 600 people stranded because all of a sudden they just closed the doors. It was over. That was it. So when you're over here bragging and you think it's important, that customer's already looked you up or you wouldn't be in there. They've already done the research. Why tell them what they already know? What you want to do is find out from them what they need to be successful, and you need to provide the tools that helps them do it. I was watching this thing the other day about the Challenger program, and I talk about Challenger because they bring so much research to the table. And he was talking about, if you go in and you target the right person in an account, you've got a 4% advantage. But then if you cater your presentation to each person in that, in your group, because he said on average there's 5.4 people making a decision. If you cater cater everything to them, then that gives you a negative 4%. So basically you end up at 0. But here's what I want all of you to realize. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care how good a company is, in the end, they're in it to make money. So when you're working with that customer and you're providing a solution that's going to help them long term, yes, they may have to go through some pain. They may have some change that happens, absolutely. But when you're driving them to a point of where they're going to make money long term and sustain what it is that they want to do and where they want to go, then they're going to be more open to talk to you. Does it cost something right now? Yes, but how much is it going to cost if they do nothing? I have several companies. There's one thing about sales training, and I laugh how many companies don't spend money on real sales training, and here's what I'm talking about. It's great if you hire a company who has a process and they force you into that process. But when I work with a customer, I'm looking at everything. I want to see what really goes on in the field. I have skills that I teach. And those skills, it's kind of like a toolbox that's sitting in my garage. I've probably got, 2,000 tools out there. But I don't use all 2,000 every time I interact with a customer. I only use the ones that I need. Or if I'm doing a house project, I'm going to be laying a floor for a friend of mine in a week or two just as a project. We enjoy doing these things, and I'm going to carry the right tools. Same thing with you as a salesperson. You've got a lot of things to help people, and you've got to make that tie up. But that's what the customer pays for. The value of you and what you bring to the table. So many times we discount, and my question to you is why? Don't get me wrong, you may discount a little bit, but I've seen people basically give their product away. I just don't think it's a good plan long term. Your company can't sustain it. You can't have the support to help you in the back end. So my note to you on this, and it ties into what I talked about yesterday in Monday Morning Minutes. Managers, you got to help your sales reps. And if you don't know or you can't sell, you need to learn how to sell, because you're the person that's not in the middle, you're not in the heat of the battle. You're sitting back and you're looking at it at 30,000 feet, which means you don't have the pressure of knowing what to say and what to do with that customer. So you've got to coach your rep on how to step back, listen to what the customer's saying, determine what they've said. Today I did a feedback session with a realtor, and the customer gave him 3 or 4 different avenues, and he totally missed all of them because he was wondering, what's my next question? When if you would just pay attention to the customer, they're going to give it to you. So that's really all I want to talk about in this Sales Talk Tuesday. I know it's been a little long, but I want you to start focusing on fixing the problems in your sales process. You can hire me, great. If you don't hire me, that's great too. But take some time and start evaluating what's happening. And I want to give you a hint, and this is just one that I want to use for realtors out there if you've made it this far into the video. I listen to your calls. So many of these guys in real estate, they put live stuff on YouTube. And so when I'm listening to it, I'm hearing the same that they all get if they're calling on a FSBO. The customer says, bring me a buyer. And the reason why they think you have a buyer is because all these training gurus in the real estate market keep teaching you to say, hey, Mr. Customer, I have a lot of buyers and sellers and I want to come out and evaluate your property and see if I have a buyer for it. Who planted the seed of a buyer? You did. And when they think you're going to bring them a buyer, and when they realize you're lying, because guys, if you had a buyer, you would have already bought the house. If you had a buyer, you'd be taking them there anyway. I've never seen a realtor go and look at a piece of property unless they did an open house and someone paid and brought food and alcohol. I've never seen a realtor come to any of my houses that I've sold. Not one, unless they were bringing a customer. Well, believe me, I'm telling you, that's what a customer knows. So avoid bringing up terms that plant something in that customer's head. You got to fix how you're interacting with the customer. I'm not going to go too much because this has kind of run long. We're 16 minutes in. But I do want to say this to you. If you like what you heard in this video, please subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be bringing more and more of it. If you want some help with what you do, reach out to us. Go to ByronLindsey.com. You've got to just follow how to contact us, and we'll do everything we can to help. If this has helped you and you think some of your friends could benefit from it, please share it with them. Put it out there. That's all I got to say this week. I'll see you on Whiteboard Wednesday.